very interesting to know how enthusiastic these people were to donate to a project, you know, for the promotion of literature, science and arts.
I was brought up in Dundee, I've always lived in Dundee, and as a young child I often went to the McManus galleries, and I can remember things like going to see the Tay Whale, seeing things like all the favourite things that I liked. We went to see the Mummy, there was a lion, and there was the model of the streets of Dundee, which I just loved, and I still go and look at that today. So I have that sort of connection with the McManus Gallery, which I really, really liked. My subscribers, I thought it's great that they've done this, because now, as I've grown older, that I have benefited from their legacy, really, of putting into the McManus Gallery.
Well, interestingly enough, the guy who was the other lead researcher with me, his wife got roped into it more or less just by chance almost, and had no previous experience of it, but I think she really enjoyed it and sort of got quite into it all, and you know, just suddenly found herself wrapped up in these lives of these people, and just every little fact that you found out became a thing of joy, really.
James Farquharson was a founding member of St Enos Free Church, which is now, do you know where the Tail End Fish Restaurant is, next to the bank at Murraygate? You can see one of the walls there, and that's the remnant of that St Enos Free Church. So that was quite interesting. And of course, the Nethergate, now that the Murraygate, the motorway has cut down through at the end of the Murraygate, and that has cut off a couple of places that James Farquharson had his business. So it's interesting to look at Dundee with new eyes when you say, oh, I wonder what that was like.
While researching the family history, I had difficulty finding the family in one of the census years, and I was forced to look for the son, George Buchan Simpson Jr. When I found that record in Scotland's People, I discovered that George Buchan Simpson Sr. had been listed as G.B. Simpson rather than George Buchan Simpson, and that's why I couldn't find it in the ancestry records. But when I went into the ancestry records, I still couldn't find this record for the family. So I worked out that if I looked for one of the members of the household, so one of the members of the household was, say it was a Margaret Stewart, who was the housemaid, and I thought, right, I'll look for her in ancestry in this census year. And I discovered that the family had been mistranscribed, and George Buchan Simpson had been recorded as T.K. Simpkin, or some other funny name. But I discovered, as I looked at the rest of the members of the household, the spelling of the names coincided with the actual names of the family. And so I was able to get a copy of the ancestry record and the Scotland's People record and compare them, and they were the same listing for the record. So that's part of the detective work that we as researchers have to do.
They were all quite different, had different backgrounds. John Simers was the 13th of 15 children born to the Reverend Colin Simers in Ailith. And Colin Simers, his father, was preaching for a great many years, and actually has a window in the church in Ailith dedicated to him. And John, being the 13th child of 15 children, I initially, when I read that, thought, oh gosh, how did he become a banker? But his father encouraged him to study, and when he was 15 years old, he came to Dundee, to the Dundee Academy, and his father really encouraged his studies. And then he joined the British Linen Bank, which was associated with the linen companies, and his brother was already an agent there, so that was a help for him. And then the brother left, the other agent left, and John Simers was there for 40 years and built up the business. Having had so many brothers and sisters, it was quite interesting that he and his wife only had 2 children. One who died, a daughter who died in infancy, and Helen Simers, his daughter, who never married, contributed a lot of the money that the family had made to DRI, the university, quite a number of projects. And she lived on her own. They had a large house, St Helens, in the Perth Road, and she lived there and was well known, you know, for how much she donated to various projects in Dundee.
I think it's been fascinating to be involved in it. I think that it's contributing to the whole discussion and debate about how Dundee has developed over the years. Particularly given the 150th anniversary of the McManus, I think most of us have kind of taken it for granted and not thought much about how it came to be there. And I think that the project has certainly contributed to that. I find it fascinating, or have found it fascinating, looking at the people in some detail. I wasn't aware of the individuals. I knew that there had been subscribers, but wasn't aware of the kind of people who had subscribed. And the variety that I've had the opportunity to look at, working with the High School of Dundee pupils, has been fascinating, really fascinating. Brought the whole thing to life, really.
So I was attracted to doing the McManus project with the view of studying history at university next year. And I think I got out of it an excitement for what I'm going to learn next year, and also the skills I need to use at university level. And it's also been interesting learning about the people in Dundee, which is where my family comes from, and our history.
When we were invited to participate in the McManus project, we saw it as a wonderful opportunity for our students to engage with the local history of Dundee, but also an opportunity to build their research skills, as well as just learning about the city. As a school, we use the McManus galleries quite considerably as part of our courses, so it was also an opportunity for our pupils to participate widely with the project.
Well, you see, I'm a Dundonian, and I just love Dundee. So, I mean, my sisters both went abroad when they were young. One went to live in Canada, one went to live in Ireland. I live here, and I'm quite happy here. I've no intentions of going anywhere else to stay.